my name is HAPruitt, and I'm the author of the Anelthalien series. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the fourth book in the Anelthalien series, Water Rising, and the verse connections to it. The first three books have been setting up kind of, you feel like there's something about God going on, and this fourth book just dives into it, and there's a whole bunch about God in this fourth book. So I'm going to talk about the verse connections to that book in this video. Okay, so the main verse that's connected to the book is Psalm 42:7. Deep calls to deep in the roar of your waterfalls. All your breakers and your billows have swept over me. And Psalm 42 as a whole is written by someone who, in verse 4, it says, I remember this as I pour out my heart, how I walked with many, leading the festive procession to the house of God with joyful and thankful shouts. He is a spiritual leader. He has been showing people how to follow God, how to be with God, and so he's been close to God. But verse 5, the next verse says, bless you. Why am I so depressed? Why this turmoil within me? Put your hope in God, for I will still praise him, my Savior and my God. In verse 6, I am deeply depressed, therefore I remember you from the land of the Jordan. And he's talking about kind of going back and forth, like, I was so close to God, but I'm so depressed and so distant from God now. Why is this happening? And people are asking him in verse 3, like, where's your God now? So something's gone on and made him just at this low point in his life, this deep low point, like rock bottom idea. And that's what's going on in Psalm 42, the whole chapter. And then it gets to verse 7, and deep calls to deep. And he's saying, I feel deep. I am the deep. And I feel so deep and so depressed that this is my lowest low. I'm at my lowest point, and I've hit the lowest point. And all I've got left is to cry out to God. And God is the other deep. He's the deep calling out to the deep. And in a way, it's God is the deep calling out to him. God takes us to these deep places often so that we have nothing left but to cry out to God. And that plays out in kind of like a companion verse, I guess, in Jonah 2. When Jonah 2 happens, Jonah has been swallowed by the big fish. And in I'll just read chapter 2, verse 1. Jonah prayed to the Lord God, his God from inside the fish. Verse 2, I called the Lord in my distress, and he answered me. I cried out for help in the belly of Sheol. You heard my voice. Verse 3, you threw me into the depths, into the heart of the sea, and the current overcame me. All your breakers and your billows swept over me. That's very similar to Psalm 42:7, talking about how he's in this lowest of low point, and he's finally crying out to God. Like Jonah, unlike the psalmist, Jonah was running from God and didn't want God, and was trying to not be with him. The psalmist was. But Jonah was not. But Jonah's gotten to this place where he's so deep and so depressed, and he's like, I'm going to die. This is my lowest point. I've got nothing but to call out to God. And that plays out in the book, like, in both ways. Like, some people are trying to get to God, and then bad things happen around them, and it's not necessarily their fault. And they get closer to God because of it. And also, you have people who are, like, trying really hard to act like everything is fine, and I'm fine, and I don't need God, and, the maker is God in the Anelthalien series. And you got people trying, like the Jonah approach, trying to just run away from it all, and God just says, you know what? You're gonna get swallowed by a big fish. They don't get swallowed by a big fish, but I'm sorry, my toddler is not having it today. But it's okay. But they don't get swallowed by a big fish, but things happen that are big and just stop them in their tracks. Yeah, that verse, the whole idea of deep calling to deep and the breakers and the billows just overcoming you, plays out figuratively in the book. Do not touch. No. Do not touch. Yeah, so my toddler's getting me sidetracked. But that verse plays out, and I don't want to say too much because I'm just not going to say too much. It plays out in the book figuratively and sort of literally. Yeah, so you'll see that in the book. And another verse that I wanted to bring up. Okay, I've looked at my Jonah verse, my Isaiah verse. In Isaiah 43, verse... I've written notes in my Bible, so it's hard to read the verses sometimes. Verse 2. Verse 2, 43:2. I will be with you when you pass through the waters. Do not touch. I will be with you when you pass through the waters. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not overwhelm you. You will not be scorched when you walk through the fire. and the flame will not burn you. So that verse 2 plays out in the book, how they go through hard things. The 4th book, they go through some really hard things. But whenever they choose to see God is with them, they see God really is with them. And that's the same in our lives. Like, God is always with us. He's always standing, like, right there, waiting for us to acknowledge him. And sometimes he has to take us to really hard places for us to acknowledge him. And that's what the book shows, that hard things happen to get us to God. And that seems really awful and bad, and the book addresses that too. Very much the book addresses that. We have some angry characters in this book. But anyway, and they're passing through waters, they're passing through fires, literally and figuratively. And they see that God's with them through it. And by the end of the book, the characters don't all realize it, because there's more books in the series. They don't all, like, fully grasp this. But by the end of the book, there's at least one character that, like, gets it. And they're like, God's with me. God is with me, and I need to listen to him, and he's going to get me through this. And it's an amazing thing. So those are the 3 verses that go with the book. And I want to tell you bonus points that were deep. And the word depths in Jonah are, in Psalm it's deep, and in Jonah it's depths. That's the same word. And I like etymology, looking up the history and the origins of words. And so I looked up the Hebrew word that's used there, and the Hebrew word appears in the book. And so, like, if you go and look up the Hebrew word, I'm not going to say it because, like, I want you to have, like, an interactive experience, and it's fun for me to look up words. And when you see it in the book, you'll be like, oh, there it is. And it's so fun. I love it. But go and look up the Hebrew word for deep. Like, use blueletterbible.com and look up Psalm 42:7 and see what deep is in Hebrew. And then when you see it in the book, you're going to be like, wow, okay. And I think it's really cool. Because when I was writing this book, I remember I encountered that word and I was told the Hebrew for it. And so I used that word in the book, in the 4th book. Okay, it's cool. And I hope that made sense. That was kind of my tangent about me being a nerd about the origins of words and using words that mean something deeper. There we go, deep pun. Okay, I'm stopping. I'm going to stop. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it makes you really want to read the series. The 4th book in the Anelthalien series, Water Rising, comes out February 13th, 2024. If you're seeing this video after that, like, go get this book. If you haven't read any of the series, read the first 3 first, and then the 4th book. If this comes out before, if you're seeing this before February 13th, 2024, read the first 3 books so you are ready for the 4th book in the series. In February, Alexandria Miracola 2125 Books is doing a book club on Instagram. It's really fun. She's doing so much with it. It's like the best book club ever. I'm actually participating in a book club for the first time. But she is doing Anelthalien, the 1st book in the series, in February. So if you haven't started the series, that would be a great way. I'm going to give inside stuff, inside looks to the book club. And so, like, it's going to be really fun. And you can learn more about the books and all my nerdy word things that I put into the 1st book. But yeah, so, oh, and another thing, there's a special edition of Water Rising that's going to come out when the regular one comes out. And the special edition's hardback. And it has, like, my explanation of all this stuff. There's, like, so much more than just these verses and just that one word. There's, like, so much tied up into what is behind this book and the spiritual depth and the theology, and there's just so much more. So if you're interested in that, like the bonus content of the book, get the hardback special edition. It's so worth it. It has so much good stuff in it. I loved writing all the spiritual applications and what all of this book means, and it's just great. And it has, like, my personal story. So that's everything I think I want to say in this video. I hope it got you excited for the book. I hope you want to read it. Please share this video. Please like this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more about the Anelthalien series and other books. And thank you for watching. Bye.
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 Yeah, that's your job. Okay. Nope, that's not your job. If you want to know more about Anelthalien or HAPruitt, please follow me on Instagram at HAPruitt. You can find me on Amazon as an Amazon author, HAPruitt. Please watch my YouTube channel and all my cool videos on my channel, HAPruitt Anelthalien. You can find me on the Facebook page, HAPruitt Anelthalien.
You can follow me on Goodreads by the name HAPruitt and the book Anelthalien, or you can go to my website where so much cool stuff about Anelthalien is. The website is HAPruitt.com.
Let's go. Let's go. Oh! Yeah, okay, sitting down. Okay, are you gonna let Mama do this? Let Mama do her video, okay? You can be with me. Come here. You're gonna be